Okay, it's a bit wet, a bit windy, but let's energize the storm with a warm aloha.
Aloha.
That's pretty good. I think that'll energize me for at least the next 91 minutes. It's a 90-minute tour, by the way, so I have 1 minute bonus. Anyway, I'm gonna just change up that definition of aloha just a little bit. And this is something one of my kapunas told me. A kapuna is like a grandparent figure, and this kapuna told me when I was in my 20s. She told me that the true meaning of aloha means to be in the presence of the breath of God. Of course, I was in my 20s, so it went right over my head when Auntie Sylvia told me that. Auntie Sylvia being very philosophical and also very poetic, she would tell me things like that. But as I got older, I began to realize what she's really talking about. Of course, when I was in my 20s, I was more concerned about things like surfing. That was a big part of my life at the time. Going to college, finishing up my college credits. My car was a big deal in my life. And I'm showing my age here. Disco dancing. I was into disco dancing, believe it or not. But as I got older, I began to realize what she was really talking about, even though she was philosophical. But if you look at old pictures of Hawaiians embracing each other, if you look really close, it might look like they're kissing lip to lip. But you look again, they're really getting close, forehead to forehead, nose to nose, and they're sharing breath. They're sharing this breath. So back in the old days when they said aloha was this willingness to share breath with you. Of course, not a very popular thing to do during COVID, but you can get the essence of what I'm trying to say here. Okay, negotiate this turn over here. On our left-hand side, you see the mountain range there. That is called Kualoa, and that mountain is about the highest point is about 1,900 feet, and that's called Kanehaulani, 1,900 feet. This ranch is comprised of 3 ahupua'as. I'll be saying a lot of Hawaiian words on this tour, and if you don't understand, you can just come up with me, but I'll try to explain each one. Ahupua'a means land division. It also means big altar. And we have 3 here on the ranch, starting off at Kualoa, where we are presently. This one here is 622 acres. On the south side, we have Hakipu'u. Hakipu'u is 1,100 acres, and we will be spending most of our time in Ka'ava. Ka'ava is 2,200 acres. Notice I said Ka'ava because of that jerky A sound. In the Hawaiian language, they have something called otinas, or glottal stops in English, and that makes that vowel sound very jerky, like Ka'ava, like Hawaii or Molokai. You gotta make sure you close the glottal stop or the okina when you're saying these words that require an okina. You can totally change the meaning of the word. Like there's one saying that if you say it with the glottal stop, it means come and eat. In this direction, come and eat. If you say it without the glottal stop, it means come and get infinite. So you can see how important the glottal stop is. So anyway, this all started in 1828 when Jared Judd decided to leave New England and come to Hawaii to serve as a Christian missionary and to serve as a medical doctor. He pretty much dedicated his life to the benefit of the Hawaiian people. And the king kind of recognized him for that. And the king offered him Hawaiian citizenship. So he renounced his U.S. citizenship and became a subject of the Kingdom of Hawaii, where he served on the king's staff as a financial advisor, also as an international affairs advisor. And eventually, the king allowed him to own this land over here for $1,300, all 622 acres. And his first venture was to grow sugar. And right over here, we have the first sugar mill made on the island of Oahu. It's made out of crushed coral and lava stones. However, sugar didn't quite work out for the Judd family. The air was just too salty, and also not enough water to produce the kind of yield of sugar that he really wanted. It takes over a ton of water to produce 1 pound of sugar. And right over here, we have a concrete slab. It's just a slab. Okay. I know I'm giving you all these facts and figures and dates. I figure I throw in something to make sure you guys are still listening. Anyway, so after the sugar venture didn't quite work, he got into cattle ranching. So just imagine this place without any trees. So when he got to cattle ranching, let me back up a little bit. Let me describe these trees around over here. These are called monkey pod trees, and they have a connection with the Second World War. So most of these trees were planted after 1946. So on December 7, 1941, everybody knows that Pearl Harbor got attacked, and everybody focuses on the ships that got attacked at Pearl Harbor. But also, 3 airfields here in Oahu got attacked. One was located right across the bay there at Kaneohe Naval Air Station. That was a Marine base. That got attacked also. So the military realized this place was very, very vulnerable. And they had cattle ranching going on over here, after sugar failed. And they had to take out the trees so they could put an airfield over here. And the airfield utilized that highway you see right over there. It would actually stop traffic to allow the planes to take off and to land here. So this place was devoid of trees because of the airfield there. And after the war, after 1946, they wanted to resume cattle ranching here again. So they brought in these monkey pod trees, and they actually come from South America. And the reason why they call it monkey pod trees, if you could seed pods, they're kind of dark brown and black, and when they fall to the ground, they kind of curl up like a monkey's tail. So you'll be seeing different remnants of the Second World War as they climb up here. And by the way, you guys will see our PP, and that's coming up on our left. PP is a Hawaiian word for cattle. So we actually have 600 head of cattle over here. So PP again is the Hawaiian word, and these cattle are completely grass-fed. We don't introduce any kind of growth hormones. Whatever grows here on the ranch is what they eat. And the reason why I kind of talk about them now, because they move them from time to time, so I'm not sure when I'm going to get to see them again. So when I see them, I like to talk about them. We have 3 varieties of PP. The black ones are called Angus, the tan ones are called Charolais, and the British brown ones are called Herefords. Again, you're completely grass-fed. Like I said, the Hawaiian word for cattle is pipi, and our Hawaiian word for appetizer is pupu. So only in Hawaii you can have pipi as your pupu, okay? Kind of a famous Hawaiian dish is called pipi kaula, which is our form of jerk meat. It's like regular jerk meat, but a lot more moist, and personally I like it better. It's very flavorful. So getting back to the Second World War, sorry, the PP threw me off over there. Like I said, we have some remnants from the Second World War that you guys will be seeing here. Anybody got to hike Diamond Head? No one hiked Diamond Head? How about Lanikai Pillbox Trail? I see some nods out there. Anyway, these are all remnants from the Second World War. And like I said, I'm going to show you some that we have right over here. So, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the military really made sure they had all sorts of defenses located in this area there on Oahu, especially Oahu, because of all the military bases. Anyway, as I make the bend here, you guys will see the first bunker that we have here on the ranch, and that'll come up on your right-hand side. You can see the ventilation stack, that concrete stack, and right to the left of that, you can actually see a ladder that goes down. But this was like a communication bunker. It's underground to protect it from attack there. And if you go in there today, pretty much abandoned. You find a bunch of cobwebs and spiders and cockroaches, centipedes, ants, a lot of dirt, a lot of dust. In other words, pretty much abandoned. So just imagine this place with no trees. Right on the other side of this hill, you have some airplane hangars, and you would actually watch the airplanes taxi out to the highway and take off and land here. Again, more bunkers over here. And I want to point out this one bunker coming up on your left. And the reason why I'm pointing it out, because it was used in 2 TV shows, one Hawaii Five-0 in 2010, and the other one was Lost, and that was the episode with the polar bear. Anybody can recall that episode with the polar bear? Okay. So that was in 2010. So if you watch the episode on TV, you're going to notice that bunker looks a lot bigger. And a lot of the movie sets and props that they use here, on the screen it looks bigger, but in real life, up close and personal, it's not that big. So as we come up here, you might see more bunkers and pillboxes, but I want to take you guys to the largest bunker that we have here on the island. It's called Battery Cooper. Battery Cooper goes into the hill about 120 feet. And Battery Cooper was completed in 1943. And the cool part about Battery Cooper today is not used by the military, but just used by the ranch. And that's where we house a lot of our movie memorabilia. So you guys will spend about 8 minutes going to Battery Cooper. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to let you guys off. You guys are going to walk around the front of the bus and enter Battery Cooper. But the power might still be out. So if you got cell phone, if your cell phone has a flashlight, you might want to consider turning that off. It's pretty dark, so I want to make sure you guys can enjoy Battery Cooper without it turning into a haunted owl. Okay, it's kind of dark over there, but I still want you guys to kind of get a feel for it. And what I'll do, I'll park the bus, and I'm going to walk to Battery Cooper on one side, and make sure follow the last people there, and make sure you guys are escorted out there safely. And so you might have to turn on your cell phone, the flashlights on your cell phone. When we get into Battery Cooper, I'm going to ask that you guys walk directly to Battery Cooper. Don't linger in front of the bus, and just go directly to Battery Cooper. And hang on, I'm going to pull on the side here so they can get by me. And don't walk across the street to take pictures of the beautiful Pacific Ocean. The temptation will be there, but for your safety, because it's kind of a pinch point over here, and the vehicles have a hard time seeing you, again, walk directly to Battery Cooper. And I'll catch you guys on the other side, but I'll walk through to make sure everyone is through there safely, okay? You can turn on your cell phone. Flashlights if you got them. If not, hopefully the power came back on. Check it out. Oh, it looks like it's on. Oh, it looks like, I think we're good. But just in case, keep your cell phones handy. Okay, you guys can exit Battery Cooper. Just go around. Yeah, I'm so glad that Battery Cooper got the power on. The last one, oh, it was kind of hard. Anybody saw Triple Frontier made for Netflix starring Ben Affleck? Anyone saw that? Anyway, there's a scene where these mules blow off the cliff hundreds of feet down, but here's the cliff right over here. It's about 3 to 5 feet. Okay, so it's made out of styrofoam. Ooh, that's genuine styrofoam. And it was also airbrushed to make it match the mountains over here. Triple Frontier. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is kind of high right now, but you might be able to take a peek over. Again, this Kamehameha Highway is 68 miles long. It's the longest highway we have on Oahu. And if you follow that up north, that'll take you to the North Shore, home of Bonsai Pipeline, Waimea Bay, and of course Sunset Beach. Right over here we have a cave, and it was used in the movies Finding Ohana, also a very great sequel movie. So back in the 70s, basically all the ranch did was cattle ranch, and they did a few movies on it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. So they wanted to diversify their financial portfolio. So of course they got into ecotourism, starting with the horseback riding. Later on they expanded into things like ATV rides, and they even had paintball at one time, and even a gun range out here. But eventually it went away, and as it worked out here, of course they started tours like the movie tour and like the Jurassic tour, and of course the Jump tour, and also which is agricultural products on the other side. You know, and venues for things like comfort games. They have like some Spartan games they play over here every once in a while. They have like off-roading triathlons they have over here. And but they also want to expand on their agricultural offerings. And we're going to go into the Aglands down over here, and they just want us to kind of showcase some of the things that they actually grow here in the ranch. But most of the stuff are grown across the street from the ranch, near the fish pond in the Hockey Poo area. Well, we'll show you the ones that are down here anyway. And as we cross this little cattle crate, the first thing we see on our ride It's called a local vai. Local vai is like a ideal Hawaiian village with lots of water. So if you had a village like this in Hawaii, you could really take advantage of things. For one thing, of course, irrigation was pretty easy. You had the water source there, and things like canoe travel, you could actually use your canoe to transport things back and forth. Of course, prior to contact, Hawaiians, the only form of transportation they had was either by foot or by canoe. Yeah. So anyway, the name of a house in Hawaii is called hale. Hale. They had a hale for just about everything. One for sleeping, one for cooking, and one for building stuff, making stuff, mending your fish nets, restoring your fish nets. Just about a house for about everything. Like how we have a room for everything, like a bedroom, a dining room, a kitchen, a workshop. They had a house for each of those things. And the first thing we see as we go around the corner here is called a hale va'a. Hale again, house, and va'a means canoe. So that is going to be that A-frame house coming up on your right-hand side. Hale va'a. Again, the Hawaiian word for freshwater is vai. You can use a vai or vai. And Hawaiian word for seawater is kai. And when it comes to pronouncing the W, kind of a little confusion there. In most cases I say, if the word starts with a W, you pronounce it like a W. If it's in the middle of the word, you pronounce it like a V, like Hawaii. But Waikiki is not Waikiki, Waikiki. And if you notice, Waikiki has a W-A-I in it, and that indicates some sort of water thing. So, kind of historically, if you look at old pictures of Waikiki, you can see it. You can see it with a lot of things like rice paddies and kalo or taro patches, all these wetland terraces, because Waikiki was actually kind of on the wet side back in the old days. And we're coming to our first stop over here is going to be on our right-hand side, just past the Pipi over there. You'll see some stones kind of stacked up over there. And this is from Kong Skull Island. This is where the character played by Samuel L. Jackson is trying to entice Kong to come over to where he's sitting. And basically, they made a trap for him. They actually they dug holes and they filled up the holes with gasoline. And as Kong got closer, the character Samuel L. Jackson, that plays Samuel L. Jackson, just dropped the torch into it. It ignites, it explodes, it wounds Kong, but doesn't kill Kong. In fact, it makes Kong quite perturbed. That's my PC way of saying pissed off. Yeah, when Kong gets mad. Over here on my left, we have a pond that's full of Hawaiian aquatics, freshwater aquatics. We have something called the red shrimp. We call that opaiula, and also we have mud jumpers. We call that o'opu, and those are like a goby type of fish, and they like to hang out on the shallow waters. They tend to jump in the mud. When I was a kid, we had a lot of streams in Kualoa. We used to catch these things, but a lot of the streams are no longer there because of things like flood control and all that. So a lot of the freshwater o'opu are also no longer there too. And this pond on my left, they fill it with channel catfish. Normally we have these signs that will show you the creatures that live in each of these ponds, but unfortunately the last windstorm kind of took them out. And if there was a sign that was over here, you'd probably say to be determined or vacant or under construction. So this is nothing right over here. Hopefully we get something in there in the future. Coming up is a movie location for Midway. They actually had an Asian village. I think it was Chinese in the film Midway. But more importantly was the backdrop that they used. And you can see this backdrop of these mountains in a lot of different other films too. But the main one is Midway. And this pond is more channel catfish. They also got some tilapia in there. Okay, come on, PP, get out of the way. Okay, guys might notice the creatures are sitting up on the hill. Those are Dorper sheep. Originally they're from South Africa. And we do raise the sheep not for their fur or their wool, but basically for meat purposes. And the lambs are absolutely cute. And again, they're from South Africa. We call these self-shearing. In other words, their wool would get so thick and matted, it would just fall off naturally. So very, very low maintenance. And they just eat the grasses that grow here on the ranch too. Again, more leafy. These ones look more like yearlings. Anyway, from about 10 months to about a year and a half old, so still on the kind of small side. Okay, on the left-hand side, we have a pond that's full of Malaysian prawns, and we do market the prawns in our Kualoa grown farmers market. Of course, we're not open today. And over here, we have breadfruit trees. I'm going to go really slow over here because my last trip, I had a turtle cross right in front of the bus, and it's moving really slow. I had to actually get out. I kind of pushed up to the side there, so I want to make sure I don't crush any turtle. I would feel terribly bad. Anyway, these are called breadfruit trees, and the reason why they call them breadfruit is because when you bake the fruit, it smells like fresh baked bread. So if you go on this side of the bus, the passenger side, I'm going to ask you guys to keep your arms and your head in, because I can't really avoid the trees, and I refer to these as the Jurassic trees. They might just reach out and grab you. Okay, so just keep your arms and your head in, and you can actually see the fruit itself. It's about the size of a cantaloupe when they're just about ready to pick. And the cool part about breadfruit is it's kind of international. It's very popular, of course, in Polynesia. But I'll tell you a little story about a family from India. But basically, the fruit itself, anything you can do with a potato, you can do with breadfruit. And by the way, the Hawaiian name for breadfruit is ulu. So if you bake a potato, you can bake the ulu. If you have potato chips, you can make ulu chips. Of course, if you have mashed potatoes, you can have mashed ulu. Anyway, this family from India that is now living in Canada, they said when they were kids they used to eat breadfruit all the time. And just what happened, our farmers market was open that day, and they got to buy some. I got to see them as I was getting ready for another tour, and they're really happy because they get to reconnect with their food, with the food that they had with their children. So that's kind of cool. Over here we have solo papayas on my right, and on this side, on the left, we have apple bananas. Anybody tried our apple bananas? Okay, some of you did, and local girl, you don't count, okay? Because most locals love apple bananas. Anyway, they're a little bit smaller than your typical Chiquita or dough banana, but they taste a lot sweeter, and they have kind of a tart taste to them. Really unique, pretty cool. I bet you missed apple bananas. That's the only one I eat fresh. But when it comes to smoothies and cakes and pies, I'll use the other Chiquita bananas in banana splits there, because they're big and long. But when it comes to fresh fruit, for me, gotta be apple, yeah? See, us locals are spoiled, yeah? We know what is good. Anyway, as we make the turn here, on the right-hand side, we call this our odorless pig pen, or pig house. And basically, we use the techniques we learned from the Koreans. Basically, they dig into the soil about 5 or 6 feet, and it would fill it up with logs, branches, and leaves, and the waste product would work its way down and stay underground. So in most cases, it's not that bad as far as odor is concerned. You notice a whole bunch of baby pigs. They produce anywhere from about 65 to about 75 pigs every single year. And by the way, we do market the pork, okay, in our farmers market there. Okay, on my left we have lilycorn or passion fruit. Anybody tried anything with lilycorn or passion fruit? Okay, great stuff, right? You had it in a drink or you had a dessert or? Awesome stuff. Anyway, we have two types over here. We have the ones from Australia, they are yellow, and we have the ones from Brazil, they're purple. Of course, they make a lot of great things. On the island of, I think, Kauai, they have this really cool chiffon pie in Hanapepe and in Lehui and Hamoa's Saimin. Great lilikoi chiffon pie. Over here we have some turkeys. And turkeys are future tour drivers. No, just anyway. Over here we have our cage-free hen house. Each hen can lay about 5 to 7 eggs every single week, and we do market the eggs. Of course, I would try to keep them as natural as possible. They do give them feed, but they also like to eat the scratch off the ground there, little bugs and stuff like that. Here's a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. Anybody likes chocolate? Who likes chocolate here? Yeah. Over here we have cacao plants that we grow over here. We grow the cacao pods, we ferment them here, but we send it to a chocolatier in Kualoa, and they make these wonderful chocolate bars, and they come in 3 flavors: milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and my favorite all-time one is called Rise and Shine. It's chocolate, milk chocolate infused with coffee. And the bars are kind of pricey that we sell here. They're about this big. But usually I buy 1 bar, and I have a family of 8, and we all take a piece, and it's more than enough to satisfy all of us. One time I made a mistake of giving the Rise and Shine to my grandkids. They're like 6 and 7 years old. And my daughter was quite perturbed with me because they're bouncing off the walls for the next 2 hours. But for adults, yeah. And again, they sell that in our, they're selling the gift shop, kind of close to the cash register there. I should know because I took my grandkids over here to the ranch, and the first thing they asked for was chocolate bars. And over here we have tea leaves. Teas was basically used for ceremonial purposes. The old hula skirts, the grass skirts, were actually made from tea leaves. But Hawaiians would actually wrap up their gifts and certain food items with tea leaves, such as lau lau, or if they give you poi, they would wrap it up with tea leaves. So not really something you would eat, but something you would present a gift with. Also, blessings were also done with tea leaves. So you watch one of our football games or UH volleyball games, everybody's waving the tea leaves for good luck there. You missed that? Yeah. And over here we have our shade house here on the right hand side. Assortment of vegetables here. You can see some baby bananas. You can see some aloe vera. I can also see some lavender in there, and kale, and some orchids in there. Who knows what this plant is? This cactus-looking plant is right to the right of the bus. Perfect, dragon fruit. You know, I didn't know that until I worked there. I would see the dragon fruit, eat the dragon fruit. I never knew what the plant looked like. I thought it was some sort of kind of cactus. And we got more dragon fruit right up here. Okay, on my left, you'll see a plant, and the fruit looks like a hand grenade. I think that's the best way I can describe it. But this is noni, Hawaiian medicinal plant. It's really, really good for inflammation. And you can buy actually noni in powder or liquid form from places like Costco's, I find it. The vitamin store and kind of health food stores, you can buy noni. I do not recommend eating the noni straight from the tree. That fruit is kind of nasty, okay, acquired taste. But again, it is good medicine. And growing right in front over here is ginger. I had to stop the bus and ask one day. I thought it was corn at first, but as it got bigger, it didn't look like corn. It's ginger. Again, more dragon fruit back there, and further back there, outside of the shade house, more cacao, okay? And over here, we have some tropical flowers. I think those are halaconias. A lot of those locals like the tropical flowers because it'll last a real long time. And when I visit my parents, their gravesite, I always bring them halaconias and bird of paradise, a lot of tropical plants because they're very hardy and they can last a couple weeks there. Okay, we are now in Jurassic Valley. And the first thing we see in Jurassic Valley is that Morai statue. Actually, it's a scale model. It's about 1/5 the size of an actual one that you could find on Easter Island. They actually shot a National Geographic documentary over here about the Morai, because the ones on Easter Island, they're huge. They're about 20 meters high. They can weigh as much as 75 tons. And the documentary was trying to figure out how they moved them from the quarry to where they have them displayed. If you know the history of Easter Island, they took out all the trees there, the natives, so they couldn't really get logs to roll them, and of course they had no wood to make wheels out of it. So that documentary was to investigate or kind of explore different ways how they could make those marae move. So one experiment, or one theory was that, according to legend, they kind of stood upright and they kind of walked. So the scientists stood it up and they put ropes around the head, and they would pull the ropes on the left, they pull the ropes on the right. It would just like kind of like waddle down the trail there, and that's one way they think they moved them. So if you want to know more about it, if you go to YouTube and search on "Walking with Giants," how Easter Island moved the giant marae, you can actually see the documentary. Actually, a couple versions of it. There's a 4-minute version that's pretty good. I actually watched it and provided me with lots of good information there. And some of you guys kind of sat in the Penscar vehicle as he exited Battery Cooper, and there's a shot of the Penscar followed by the Gallimimus dinosaurs. And that was shot right over here. They actually filmed the Penscar coming across the field here. Of course, they CGI'd in the dinosaurs. And good and bad about that. Cool that they could put dinosaurs in there. But like most of us, the little kid in me was kind of disappointed that the dinosaurs were not real. You know, we all want to believe that dinosaurs are real. Anyway, as I make the turn here, I'm going to talk about Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was actually filmed in 1992 on the island of Kauai. Just a few days before Thanksgiving on a Tuesday, Kauai got hit during that year by Category 5 hurricane called Hurricane Iniki, and it pretty much devastated the island. So Steven Spielberg still needed to finish filming Jurassic Park, so he actually came to Kualoa Ranch to finish the last 3 days or so of filming Jurassic Park. And they actually had a scene with the Gallimimus dinosaurs running down this hill here. And they had 2 kids and Dr. Grant kind of watching them run down the hill here. I'm going to pull out the slide for just a second, let this guy through. Anyway, they filmed it coming right down here, and what happened, T-Rex comes out of the bush, and they had to take refuge. So they actually took refuge under that log right over there, coming up on the left there, hand side there. And that's where they took refuge. So this log is actually 30 years old. In fact, they filmed it the next year, in 1993. Last week, Jurassic Park officially turned 30 years old. Can you believe that? 30 years already? I remember taking my girls, they're in their mid-30s right now, and I remember buying them popcorn and candy and as we watched Jurassic Park, and they were more concerned about the popcorn and candy. So as they got older, they began to appreciate the dinosaurs just a bit more. But 30 years old already, that's pretty amazing. Anyway, I think it was Jurassic World, another Gallimimus dinosaur scene was shot on this hill, and they were running down this way. And Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. They had a scene shot right over here. You guys remember the scene where they're evaluating each of the avatars, talking about their strengths and their weaknesses? Yeah, shot right up here. You know, I forgot all about the first Jumanji with Robin Williams. You know, because, you know, I'm thinking about The Rock and that being the first Jumanji, but I was reminded. I thought the first Jumanji, some little kid, no, there's one more before that with Robin Williams. I said, you are absolutely correct. Any Lost fans here? Anyway, I kind of figured out why they called it Lost after the series ended. I was totally lost. I wasn't sure if if it was like they're all in heaven or it's an alternate reality. But right up here is where the scene from Hurley's golf course. This is where the character that Garcia plays, Hurley, finds a set of golf clubs, and to break the monotony, he builds a 2-hole golf course up on that hill here to, I guess, break the monotony of living on the island. This is also where that actor Garcia got engaged to his wife. So a little bit romantic connection over here too. And did you realize that Lost was one of the most expensive TV series ever? Each episode costs anywhere from $2.5 to $3 million each. I bet that accountant was lost, right? But state of Hawaii, the bank lost a lot of good revenue for the state, and also provided a lot of good jobs for about a year and a half for a lot of my friends that work on the movie sets. Okay, a little bit of Godzilla trivia. Do you guys know the difference between an American Godzilla and a Japanese Godzilla? Anybody? No? Anyway, it's just the number of toes. American Godzilla's got 3 toes. Japanese one's got 5 toes. And right here on my right hand side is an American Godzilla footprint from the 1998 Matthew Broderick's version of Godzilla. Of course, if you recall that movie, that whole footprint was a lot deeper. It was actually like 6 feet deep. But we had a problem with that. Basically, the cattle would walk down every morning into the footprint and they'd get stuck. Our cowboys in the morning had to go yank them out. And so they wanted to avoid that, so they kind of filled it in. And nature kind of took its course. It got kind of eroded. And some of the definition is definitely gone, especially if you look at the ones on the hill there and the ones in front of us. You can't even tell if it's Japanese or American, yeah? So that's Godzilla. Anyway, just to let you know, I kind of found out that they were shooting over here. I think it was like near the end of summer, and they actually stopped the traffic and they were shooting an Apple TV version of Godzilla that might come out this summer. So if you see that, you might recognize some of Kualoa in there. And usually they'll tell us the titles, but one of the extras actually told me, and I got the information. Normally some like secret, catchy title that has nothing to do with the movie itself, to keep it hush-hush, yeah? But that one they told me. Anyway, over here again we have our, what I call this, the clubfoot Godzilla or the toeless Godzilla, because that definition is totally gone. Oh, okay, here's a kind of funny movie. It's called Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. Anybody can recall that one? Only one person there. Anyway, Mike and Dave are two kind of ridiculous sons that are always getting in trouble, and their parents are absolutely frustrated with them. And their sister's getting married in Hawaii, and they tell Mike and Dave, you cannot go to Hawaii to your sister's wedding unless you guys bring your own wedding dates. So they went to, of all places, Craigslist, and found themselves 2 wholesome girls. They thought they were school teachers, but they were just as kolohi or rascal as they were. And the first things they do is grab the ATVs and jump that hill on the left there, and they made it look really easy. And Mike and Dave, not to be outdone, they do the same. Unfortunately, Mike kind of miscalculates, and he lands right on his sister's face. She breaks her nose, gets all bruised up in the face one day before her wedding. Hopefully you guys want to see it now. Anyway, that scene was shot there, and the wedding scene was actually shot near our fish pond area. Pretty funny, pretty good movie. And my daughters really like Zac Efron, so yeah, a little double bonus for them. Okay, the next one is You and Me and Dupree. Anybody saw that one? Oh yeah. Anyway, again, Owen Wilson acts as the best man. That couple that were getting married, and what had happened was the best man actually lands on the wrong island. This very road that we're on was the landing strip that his airplane landed on the wrong island. So you have to turn around and go to the correct island. But anyway, if you catch the first 10 minutes, you get all of Kualoa Ranch in there. So even if you want to go see it, just at least see the first 10 minutes, and you can kind of recognize this area right over here. My all-time favorite romantic comedy, 50 First Dates. Yeah, most of the other ones people, I don't recall it, but 50 First Dates, I always get a good reaction from that. And I don't know, I must have seen it, or at least watched part of it at least 20 times or so. Every time I see it on TV, I try to watch at least 10 minutes of it. Anyway, this road is where the Adam Sandler character would do some sort of stunt, because he drove by this way every single morning, so they can rekindle that relationship, because he suffers from short-term memory. So anyway, one morning he puts out Willie the Penguin in a nice aloha shirt in the middle of the road, thinking she's going to stop, but she gets distracted because she dropped something on the floor of her Volkswagen thing, and she bends over to pick it up, and poor Willie the Penguin gets kind of run over, but he lives. Okay, and to honor the Willie the Penguin, we have a styrofoam version of him with an Aloha shirt. Not the same shirt, but something close, yeah? So anyway, just another cheap plug. If you go to our gift center, we have this little Willie the Penguin, kind of good keepsake. That's my plug for today. Okay, besides the chocolate I told you about earlier. But I thought it was kind of cute. Anyway, this fence line is where she's chasing Ula with a baseball bat, thinking that Ula is attacking the Adam Sandler character, and they run and disappear into the tree lines right over there. You guys recall that scene? Yeah, that was pretty. You know, Rod Snyder off the pier with his family. Anyway, my daughters were practicing canoe for Kaneohe Canoe Club, and they went over there to watch them film. And of course, after they filmed, Adam Sandler and Rod Snyder came out there and actually shook hands and took pictures with them. And they always remember that, and they really think they're cool. Right over here, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. This is the scene where with the helicopter hangar, airplane hangar, and Ruby Roundhouse does her supposedly sexy dance to distract the guards. Doesn't quite work, so she has to rely on her martial arts skills to dispatch the guards that way. Of course, they get the helicopter and they escape there. But anyway, we had that hangar and the set, movie set right up there, but we have to take it down because it started getting dilapidated. But we recycled the roof of the hangar and we stuck it on that piggery that you guys drove by there earlier. So we recycle movie sets over here too, okay? Like I said, we're really big into recycling and repurposing. Over here, Pearl Harbor. Not all movies that you see here have actual boots on the ground. In the case of Pearl Harbor, we actually had a camera crew set up right over here, and they took the pictures of the Japanese Air Force coming through here to attack Pearl Harbor. Of course, everybody knows that Pearl Harbor is the other way, but it made good camera work as it came through here. Okay, Wind Talkers. I love this movie, WW2 movie about the Navajo Code Talkers at the Battle of Saipan. This is the first and the last time we actually used live explosives here on the ranch. We had explosives go out throughout the valley. It was really realistic, and the sad part about it, it kind of damaged a lot of the natural habitat here, and it took out an entire movie set. I'll be telling you about that movie set in just a little bit. Triple Frontier, starring again Ben Affleck, made for Netflix. This is the scene where their helicopter crash lands in the cocaine field and begin to an altercation with the locals there, and Ben Affleck end up shooting one of the locals, and they got to make peace with the village elder, and he lives in that shack right up there on the kind of left-hand side of the hill there, and of course they stole $75 million from a South American drug cartel, so they end up giving the village elder a whole bunch of cash, millions of dollars. Of course, they left with a bunch of mules, and we know what happened to at least 2 of the mules, right? They fell off the cliff on the other side. Mighty Joe Young. I think most of you guys are too young to remember Mighty Joe Young, and it was shot in the back here, and that's the first time we actually used animatronics to make the object move. So we had a 16-foot gorilla that kind of moved on its own. And back there we had that African village. Remember I told you about the explosives taking out a movie set? It was that African village back there that took it completely out. That's why first and last time you're using live explosives here on the ranch. So a question I get asked often, what happened to the tours when they're actually shooting movies over here? In the case of Wind Talkers, you know, they have to research it really hard, but they actually shut down the tours on this side of the ranch for an entire day, and they actually pay the ranch as if all the tours were filled up for that entire day. You know, because the ranch cannot make revenue, and they needed to film their things. So that's one scenario. For things that are not that critical, they will actually stop traffic. And they put up blue screens, and you would have to wait behind a line, and they give you, okay, you can drive through now. That happened. There's it's like a sequel to, I think it's Godzilla, that's going to come out on Apple TV, I think this summer. But it was actually filmed up there, and they actually stopped the bus, and I had to wait for about 5-10 minutes, and of course, they couldn't keep us too long, so we can stay on schedule. And then they let the bus go, and we drove through there. Normally they'll tell us the name of the movie that they're shooting, but in that case, one of the extras actually told me, and that's how I found out. They usually give us some sort of code name, and we don't know what the name of the movie is, so they keep it secret as long as they can. Anybody saw the movie Moana? Okay, sorry, it wasn't filmed, it's a cartoon. But if you recall the scene when she's walking in the cave with her grandmother and she has this torch, that kernels that they're burning on the torch actually comes from the kukuina tree that's right to my left, right over here. You might see these seed pods, these round green seed pods. In there, you'll find these black and brown shiny nuts. You crack those open, and they have kernels in there. They're super oily. And each kernel can burn for about 8 to 12 minutes, really long. So this is also known as a candlenut tree. Hawaiians would burn that to provide light, like a light source. In the case of Moana, she had a whole bunch of them, and they all stuck together on a handle there, like a torch, and that's how they saw their way in the cave there. Although it's just a cartoon, but it well represents how the kukui nut kernel was used. So they did their homework on that one. Very proud of them. Anyway, that kernel, super oily, and the Hawaiians will use that as a laxative. Very powerful laxative. They say if you eat more than one, you got to make sure your afternoons are pretty free, because you'd be pretty much detained, okay? So be cautious of that. Hawaiians would also cut that up and use it like for seasoning. It's pretty good. Little bits and pieces of it. Gives food that real crunchy taste. I like that cookie nuts on my raw fish. It's just really good. Anyway, that kernel, another thing they would do with that, they kind of burn it like charcoal. It got nice and black, and they would kind of pulverize it. They would mix in sugarcane juice, and they'd use that as black tattoo ink. And of course, tattooing is a really big deal for Hawaiians and Polynesians in general. In fact, the word tattoo comes from the Tahitian word patao, and that mimics the noise when you're tapping those albatross bone skewers to puncture the skin with the wooden mallet. That tapping noise became the word patao, and that's how we got the word tattoo. Anyway, another recreation of Hawaiian village, you can tell the rank of a chief by the height of his wall. They're typically kind of high-ranking chief. And you can see the hollies, they have this thatching material. That is called pili grass. If you notice this holly right over here, the bottom of the holly is kind of eaten away. And that's, the pili grass got eaten by our pipi. Okay, so our cattle like to come in here and eat the pili grass. So I'll bring you up to another story. In the late 1700s, Captain Vancouver gave King Kamehameha these longhorn cattle, and Kamehameha put a kapu, or restriction on it. People were forbidden to touch them. And what happened, cattle, that herd really grew. They really were good at creating baby cattle there. And these herds got really big, and they would actually walk into the villages. Of course, no one could touch them because it was kapu, but they would start eating the houses over there. So what had happened was the Hawaiians had to figure out how to herd this cattle. So they actually brought in vaqueros from South America and Mexico to teach the Hawaiians how to become cowboys. And eventually these cowboys were called paniola. It actually comes from a Spanish word that the Hawaiians could not pronounce, and Hawaiians were just calling it paniola. The paniola is about 30 years ahead of the Western cowboys, and of course a lot of these Hawaiians went to the West and taught the cowboys how to become cowboys. So full circle, Hawaiians, vaqueros, paniola, cowboys. Anyway, over here is Kong Skull Island. This is the actual movie props from Kong Skull Island, and this is a scene where they're walking through the area where they have the skull crawlers. Anyway, you guys are going to spend about 8 minutes out here. I'm going to get off first. Whatever you do not... Okay, let's get going. I hope that's everybody. That's why I try to keep it separate, but I can't tell sometimes, because you guys all look alike, you know. It's like, oh, you Hawaiians look alike, yeah. This is really, really cool on these things. I get to meet people from all over. You know, one day on this bus I had people from Romania and Brazil, Mexico, of course, Canada, the United States, Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, all in the same tour. That's pretty amazing. Maybe the United Nations should take a clue from us, yeah, how we all get along on the same bus. Yeah. Okay, if you look on your left, kind of by the tree line there, we have the largest horned animal on our ranch. Actually, he's the only one that has horns. His name is Dakota. He's like about 19 years old. We got him in 2018. Let's see if I can make him turn his head. Sometimes he'll do this. He'll respond to me. Dakota! There we go. Hey, Dakota! Thank you for making me not look like a liar. Anyway, the reason why they did that, because the ranch where he comes from, they had kids and we call him over, and he would walk up to the fence and they would feed him gummy bears. He really likes gummy bears. We started doing that here on the ranch, according to what the old timers told me. And what had happened was the veterinarian caught us doing that, and they said no more gummy bears in Dakota. I guess they're worried about stuff like bovine diabetes. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm going to avoid the streets. Anyway, over here is from Georgia the Jungle. We actually had the African village way in the back there for Georgia the Jungle. And that's the first time they actually used live animals from the Honolulu Zoo to film something. So we had ostriches, zebras, and we even had an Indian elephant. And over here was a scene where they shot both the characters, George, of course, Ursula, his girlfriend, and Seth the elephant. And they're riding along here, and we shot that scene over here. And of course, that was the start Brandon Fraser when he could actually take off his shirt and show off his body. Not anymore, yeah. I don't know if the whale was just a fat suit or no, but he really looks different. Anyway, if you look to the left here, a little game of I Spy, you work your way down that ridgeline, you'll see this rock formation with that jagged V. Can you guys see that jagged V on the bottom, on the right-hand side? Anyway, if you look at two rock formations, it looks like two kissing gorillas. Can you guys see that? Or kissing apes. Anyway, they kind of pointed it out to the director of Georgia the Jungle. That's why if you watch Georgia the Jungle and fast forward towards the end, you'll see that rock formation. They put a heart around it, so you guys can recognize that. Now you guys want to bust out your old DVDs and fast forward to the end, yeah, feel free to do so. So we refer to them as our resident rock stars. It's a bad dad joke, sorry. I'm trying to keep it PC here. Like I was telling one lady in the back there that actually I worked from home for the last 5 years as a government contractor running projects in California, Hawaii, and the Southwest. And haven't really worked with people in the flesh for a long time, so I had to learn all the new rules, like the new pronouns to use and all these other things. So I have to keep things really PC here. Anyway, coming up on your left-hand side, you'll see this termite mound, some iguana eggs, and a conch shell. This is all from the movie Journey to Mysterious Island. And it stars The Rock, of course. All those things were in the movie except the termite mound was actually edited out, so you won't find it there. But we have it. It looks cool, so we decided to display it here. Of course, it stars The Rock, and The Rock is like one of our favorites here at the ranch. Dwayne Johnson, whenever he's in town, he'll rent his own SUV, and he'll come to the ranch and say he's coming down, and you gotta tell him where he can drive. He actually will make his own tours. He'll drive around. And one of the things he likes to do is actually jump on board on one of these buses and say hello to everybody. And, oh yes, oh yeah, hopefully he can come by the ranch. And he got on board right over here, said hello. Not on my bus, but this is before I came to work, started working here. And he'll stop the SUVs, not the SUVs, but the ATVs coming across here and say hello. So another funny story I've heard is that they're shooting Jumanji along with Kevin Hart, and they just got over shooting a it, and they're leaving the movie set there, and with him and Kevin Hart, and some of the residents or the guests kind of recognized him, and he waved, acknowledged them, and they're trying to get Kevin Hart to also respond too, but Kevin Hart didn't respond. So what The Rock did was actually pick him up and made him wave. So that's The Rock for you. He spent a lot of his adolescence years here in Hawaii, and his father, of course, wrestled here, and his grandfather was the great Peter Maivia, and really famous wrestler. He was a Samoan high chief, and he wrestled. We used to go watch Peter Maivia wrestle at the place called Civic Auditorium, and it was in Kualoa. It's closed right now, no longer in existence, but anyway, you guys probably heard me mention the word Kualoa. It means pig altar. Also, it means land division. Anyway, I'm going to show you a recreation of a Hawaiian pig altar, and it's made out of wood, but it's going to come up with an inside. Just make sure you're cleared of all of these. Short timer. Whenever the Hawaiian they're really great places to go watching. Every year, about the month from late October to about April, come back through here. And they actually have whale watching on certain days throughout the islands at different locations. They would actually count the number of times they saw whales, either breaching or the tails or whatever. They would actually count them. And I know this because both my wife and my daughter volunteered for whale watching. And one year my daughter, she did whale watching. She told me, "Dad, whale watching is the most boringest thing I ever done." Of course, all we did is watch whales. I said, "Yeah, that's whale watching for you." Of course, she, being a teenager, was more interested in her friends and going to the beach with her friends. So that's whale watching. Anyway, the whales are a really big deal for the Hawaiian culture, especially the hooded whales like the sperm whales. And whenever our carcass of a sperm whale would wash up on the shores over here, the Hawaiians would take the ivory, the teeth, and only the elites of the ruling class could actually own the teeth, because the Hawaiians felt that any kind of bones or ivory contained the mana, or the essence of the being. In the case of the sperm whale, their teeth contain the essence of Kualoa, the god of the deep blue sea. That's why only the elites could hold the teeth there. It brings me to another point. Oftentimes I get asked, are there any tours that go to the very top of the mountain over here? And my answer would be no. That area is kapu, or forbidden, because up there is where they bury the chiefs, the leads. And they would bury the chiefs remains in lava tubes and in caves there. And Hawaiians, of course, believing that their bones contain their essence, they don't want anyone disturbing their mana. So that's why it's forbidden. That's why this place is very, very secret to the Hawaiians. Not only because the chiefs are buried up there, but also this place is considered a pu'uhonua. In other words, it's a place of refuge, a city of refuge. If you violated kapu, they only have one penalty, and that was death itself. But if you made it here to Kualoa, you can oftentimes get forgiven and work your way back to society. Again, that's how secret this place was. And also, this was a training ground for the young chiefs. And they would actually learn how the art of war, they would learn martial arts, learn how to govern, and they would also learn their genealogy, so they could trace back their royal heritage here. I'm going to pull on the side and let these guys come through here. But first of all, I'll talk to you about this station right over here. It's a pig watering station. Prior to COVID, we actually had it banned, and pigs would come over here and they would water the pigs here. But after COVID, we could no longer man it because we didn't have the staff for it. So we kind of just locked it up. Hopefully we can revive it and resume pig watering again. Yeah, just most of them are like the Polynesian style pigs, but sometimes they get mixed with feral blood, and so they get larger. But the Polynesian boars are kind of small. They're about the size of like a medium-sized dog. Most of them I see, they're like 35, 40, 60 pounds, maybe 100 pounds for like the bigger males. But most of them are not that big. But when they mix with the feral pigs, that's when they get really big. Yeah. That's a good question, thank you. I like those engaging questions. So that's about all I got for the formal part of this tour, but I'm going to go off script a bit, and because I like to answer questions that I get most often. One of the questions I get a lot is, what is this sign? What does it mean? This is a shaka sign, and they ask me, what does shaka mean? Shaka is just like an acknowledgement of you. You know, like saying, hey, you know, shaka. It's kind of like that. But anyway, this started in the early 1900s. They had a sugar plantation worker. His name was Homana Kali'i, and he lived in the Laia area. And Homana worked in the sugar plantations, in the sugar mills. If you understand sugar mills, they're nothing but giant rollers that will crush the sugar stalks and squeeze out the juices to extract the sugar from the juices there. And Homana's job was to feed the sugar stalks into these rollers. Unfortunately, one day Homana got his hand caught in there, and he lost 3 of his fingers. All he had on his right hand was his pinky and his thumb. So Homana, after recovered, they gave him another job. His job was to inspect the sugarcane trains to make sure nobody jumps on the trains, and of course, no one is taking the sugar stalks. Because the kids during those days, they like to jump on the train and take the sugar and gnaw on it. And whenever they saw Homana, they would start doing this to each other, just to warn each other that Homana's around. They didn't want to get caught. For one thing, kind of embarrassing to your family if Homana caught you, because it's a very small community. And also too, Homana probably had your parents' permission to whack your bottom there, just to keep you straight and narrow there. So the kids would do this. And eventually this became a greeting, not only with the kids, but with some of the adults. If you know this area, Kualoa, it's just really close to the North Shore. Of course, the North Shore, we have a lot of international surfers, internationally and from California. So they would see the kids and the people there doing this. So they kind of picked it up and took it back to their communities. So a lot of times this thing would kind of circulate around a lot of surf communities internationally and in California. So that's how it kind of spread internationally. But a little bit more recent story involving the shaka sign I want to throw in there. And this involves a girl in 1997, actually a woman. Her name was Brooke Lee, and to this day she's a TV celebrity. But Brooke Lee ran for Miss Hawaii and she won. And Brooke Lee ran for Miss USA and she won. And Brooke Lee ran for Miss Universe, and she is absolutely beautiful. She is of Hawaiian, Asian, and Caucasian descent. She's really gorgeous. So anyway, she ran for Miss Universe and she made it to the finals. So she was the last 3 and to be picked as a Miss Universe. So they asked all 3 of the girls, for one day, if there are no rules and you could do anything you could do, what would you do? Of course, the other contestants in different languages gave that typical world peace kind of talk and this and education, blah, blah, blah. They asked our former Miss Hawaii, what would you do? And she would say, I would eat, and I would eat everything twice. Of course, that kind of took her over the edge there. No one expected to answer. That's so creative. So she won Miss Universe. Of course, when she won, they gave her the tiara and the bouquet and the sash there. And when she won, of course, first thing she does as she walks down the ramp, she makes a shaka sign in front of the cameras there. And some of the local news outlets came up with this. The new Miss Universe is making the sign of the devil. And here in Hawaii, we're just cracking up. We thought that was the funniest thing ever. Well, she's just telling her friends at home, shaka, yeah? Anyway, one more last thing. That island that you see right in front of you is called Mokuli'i Island. It means little lizard. But some people call it by the names that locals use it, and they call it Chinaman's hat, but we like Mokali'i because we're trying to bring back the Hawaiian language. Anyway, a little personal history. 42 years ago, across the shores from Mokali'i Island, I had my wedding reception, and we entertained 300 guests for $800. Really good party. A lot of raw fish, a lot of stuff we caught from the ocean, and basically we ate chicken thighs and short ribs. We go cookout right there on the beach. Anyway, let's say mahalo nui loa. Aloha, hui ho. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna let you guys out, but first I need to get out first so I can say aloha with a shakasai.